All right. So tonight we're going to talk about the throat chakra, also known as Vishuddha in Sanskrit, uh, which means purification. So the throat center is our energetic access point from our minds and hearts to connect and communicate. So if you see, like even the way our bodies are shaped, like the neck is skinny, but the head is larger, and then the torso is larger, so it almost looks like a funnel. And then we talked about the heart chakra, which was last week, and we talked about what all that governed, and then we'll talk about the third eye in the crown. But as you see, the throat chakra acts as a natural funnel or filter. Um, Vishuddha receives spiritual guidance from above and connects directly with the heart center below. It is infused with the needs and desires that it receives from the physical self with love and compassion from the heart, and then uplifts them to be impressed with the vision of the third eye and the wisdom of the crown, which is descending from above. So it is then that the throat chakra energizes a purity of expression to manifest into the world. So as we talked about the heart chakra being the bridge from the lower chakras, the lower three, which are the physical chakras, into the upper three, which are the spiritual chakras. The throat is our bridge from the inner world to the outer world. So we have things going on inside of us, and then we have things going on outside of us or in the world. And the throat chakra is our bridge between the two. So it's like the outer bridge, whereas the heart chakra is the vertical bridge. The Sanskrit name for the throat chakra is Vishuddha, and it's spelled Vishuddha, Vishuddha, and it means purification or purified.
Can you spell that one
It
more
acts,
time?
yep. Vishuddha, V as in Victor, Ishuddha, Vishuddha. Got it? Good, you got it?
Good, got it. Thank you.
All right, cool. And it means purification or purified. And like I said, it acts as a filter between the heart and the mind. It can also be looked at as a quiet place of pause, a place of quiet, a place to center oneself, ground, breathe, and release, clearing debris from the mind and the emotions, preparing oneself to receive as well as to give. You'll see where that comes from in a minute. Vishuddha is also the gateway in which we express our inner world to the outer world. Everything makes sense so far? Any questions or comments?
No, it makes sense.
Okay. Sweet. All right. So, just as we talked about the heart chakra last week and the petals and, how it's represented, the symbols allow you to understand what the heart chakra or, any chakra is all about. So we talked about the lotus and the petals and all of that last week with the heart chakra. So this particular chakra and all chakras are associated with a lotus flower with a number of petals. So does anybody remember how many petals were associated with the heart chakra.
12.
Yep, that was 12. So this particular chakra is a 16 petal lotus. And it's a bright blue lotus flower. And the petals go around the center with 16 petals. And then it contains a white full moon and a downward facing triangle. So, if you just see the symbols too, you'll already know what, each chakra is based on how it looks. All right, so the color associated with Vishuddha is obviously blue, and it's a sky blue, deep blue, and the energy represents the energy of heaven or the sky above. It's calm, soothing, and it allows you to awaken to the vast expanse of the sky and of space itself. So, along with the color white, blue represents purity, wisdom, and higher consciousness. The inverted triangle represents a channel to our consciousness and soul, a direct expression of our higher self. So if you look at the triangle, remember last week we talked about the two intersecting triangles, right? We had the triangle facing up and the triangle facing down, and put together, that it looks like a six-pointed star, which obviously shows you the bridge between the upper realm and the lower realm, or masculine, feminine, or spirit and matter. So this one is strictly a downward facing triangle. So you see the big part is at the top and then the skinny part is at the bottom. So basically it's funneling down our consciousness into a point. So it's a downward facing triangle. The petals, the 16 petals, are associated with the 16 vowels of Sanskrit. And vowels are generally thought to represent spirit, while the consonants give the edges and definition to matter. The full moon represents a purified mind, and the moon is also a symbol for the element, which is space, ether, Akasha. So you see how we get less and less dense as we move up. So Muladhara, or the root chakra, was earth. Then Swadhisthana, or sacral chakra, was water. The solar plexus chakra, Manipura, was fire. And then the heart chakra, Anahata, was air. So those are the four physical elements. And then the fifth element, which is ether. Does anybody know what ether is, or has a definition that we can use for ether, what it is, what it's all about?
Isn't it the layers of space that exist on this plane? Kind of what makes up this plane, almost the energy that's in this plane.
Anybody else have any other thoughts or ideas about what ether is?
Ether is everything around us.
Anybody else have any thoughts or ideas of what ether is?
I know ether is quantum or space. That's the best I know.
Say that again.
Quantum space.
Okay. Anybody else?
Peace.
Peace.
I would say, man, ether is the vehicle that light travels in. Space that
Definitely,
exists is anything that can hold light.
yeah. I'll take that definition. So basically, what it is it's a layer of um, emptiness, but it is the medium in which vibrations travel through. So, like for example, when we're in Kumite and an instructor moves before you move, and you say, "Oh, how did you know that I was about to do that?" And we say, we can feel your thoughts. The ether is the medium in which the thoughts are felt. So whenever anything vibrates, it vibrates this membrane called ether. So ether permeates everywhere, space, it permeates everything. And so whenever anything vibrates, the medium that vibrates is that ether. So if you think a thought, if you say a word, if you make a motion, all of that, for lack of a better word, disturb the ether. And that disturbance is permeated throughout space. So whether it's big or small, it still makes some type of motion or disturbance. And the better you can connect to that, the more you can feel it and understand it. So, that medium allows for example, telepathy. Like if we, send a thought via our mind intentionally, we can vibrate that ether. And if somebody is quiet enough and still enough, they'll be able to pick up the vibration that you sent. And you can also see this in different quantum experiments. So, if they have an electron and they split it, it it spins one way, and if no matter the expanse of distance in between the quantum entangled particles, if one spins in a clockwise direction, the other one will automatically spin in the counterclockwise direction instantaneously, no matter the quote unquote distance or space in between. And that goes to show you that it's always connected no matter what. So that connection happens through the ether, right? That's how the quantum entangled particles knows the spin of the other one, because they are connected via the ether. Questions or comments?
Give me that. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Please give me that definition of ether as concisely as possible. I have a lot of depictions and descriptive meat to put oil material to lay on the concept. But give me one or two sentence canned definition, please, so I can lock that in.
All right. This is the most concise definition. The space that allows waves to travel.
Copy.
Yep.
Now,
So that pretty much encompasses everything that we just talked about.
now, when you say the space, given that we 99.999 empty, but am I destroying the definition when I think of the material or the substrate that allows for that for that vibration?
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as I just look at it as like a membrane or a sheet. So is not material in a sense. It's ethereal,
right,
but yet it is of substance.
What about a
space that allows
field?
waves to be felt.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, what about a field? I always understood it as, or a way for me to understand it was, and when you say space, is to think of it as atmosphere or aura. I guess aura is a lot better. So that space that's allowing creation. I don't know. I don't want to pervert the definition, but
Oh, yeah. That's good to think about it like that too. Same thing. Same idea.
I don't know if that's helpful, Aku.
It was. Again, I have the cognitive takeaway. I'm clear about it, cognitively, but I just want to make sure my language is proper. So I do like the field by which or through which waves are felt or sensed, transferred. Give it to me one more time like a 6-year-old. I apologize.
Travels, traversed, any of that. Permeate through.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? Questions or comments? I know that was probably a lot. But...
Yeah, I got a question. This concept of ether, is it? I'm trying to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Is this space solely in the throat, or is it connected to our other like primal chakras in some way, shape, or form? Because if our lower chakras are more physical or body related, would this chakra somehow embody that physical, I guess, characteristic as well? Or is it literally how you said, like it's connected from inner and outer and not more so vertical? I'm trying to see if
I got you. Yeah, no worries, and you don't got to try. But basically, every chakra has an element associated with it. So the element is more so like a tangible representation of the characteristics of the chakra. So, like, for example, Muladhara or the root chakra is associated with earth because it's about grounding, it's about, just being connected to the physical. So, what better way to represent Muladhara than earth? Or Manipura, which is the solar plexus, is associated with fire, which is, representative of the willpower, the drive, so it's more so like the characteristics that are associated with each chakra. So this particular chakra is associated with ether because the nature of it is vibration, right? So in order to have vibration, something has to vibrate. And that thing that vibrates is the ether.
got it.
Yeah.
I think that's heavy that we have to continue instructor, but I think that's heavy in so much that vibration permeates everything. We're vibrating. Our molecules are vibrating. Our word is vibration. It's thought made manifest or feeling made manifest through vibration. Everything is vibrating at all times, which it connects when you just said that, when you just dropped that jewel about how each chakra is related to an element. That brought it home. Why it resonates with the throat chakra, that everything is vibrating.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. See the power of asking questions because he just brought that out. And I'm sure, he wasn't the only one who was, had a question about that. So I appreciate him just stepping forward with that. Anybody else have questions or comments? All right. So continuing on, the as we talked about, the fifth element, ether, aka Akasha, is conceptualized as space. It is the essence of emptiness and the space that the other elements fill. So, for example, without space, none of the other um, elements could exist. So, without space, could we have earth? Could we have water? Could we have fire? Could we have air? So, it is the ether or Akasha that allows for the existence of all the rest of the lower elements. So, basically right in line with what we just talked about. This space also allows for the waves of sound to travel. And sound is a rhythmic vibration of air molecules as they are impacted by matter in movement. So again, just what we talked about the bridging of spirit and matter, right? So in order for something to vibrate, there has to be movement, and the medium that that movement happens in is the ether or Akasha or space. All sound, all sound is a vibration, and all things living and non-living have a unique vibration. So, just what Paul said, everything vibrates, as we already know. Some things vibrate slower, some things vibrate faster. And the only thing that separates me from you, from the wall, from the floor, from the computer, from the phone, is vibration. So the wall is just molecules vibrating at a slower, more densely compacted rate. And the air is molecules that are more spaced out, that are vibrating faster than than the wall. So at this level, at the Vishuddha level, we do not see the world as individual things or activities, but as a complex, interwoven net of energies with characteristic vibrational rhythm. And that's it. That's everything is just vibration, as we talked about. Everything is vibrating at a certain rate. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for that definition in there too.
That's
I was thinking about something.
Go ahead.
In the previous in this house too, in when I first moved here, I could lay in the bed at night, and sometimes I couldn't sleep because I could feel, you know what a transistor radio is, and it makes that static.
Mhm.
I could feel that like in my body,
Mm.
and it's like the whole, like maybe the house was vibrate. I don't know, was like, and it used to scare me because I would be like, is the house grounded? And then I just remember that just recently today when I was meditating, I did a meditation. I listened to the bowls, the sound where they do the rings around the bowls. And what I did was lay on the floor on a pad, and then I just laid there in the dark, and I had those sounds playing, and I could feel them vibrating. So it just made me think of that when you were saying that that last part about that I was going to ask you to repeat it. What we are is not everything. It's not just things that we see about us being interwoven.
I got you. So two things. So one, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you. So as we said, everything vibrates, right? So you can either vibrate in harmony with something, or you can vibrate out of harmony with something. So if you vibrate in harmony with a thing, it's called resonance. And if you vibrate out of harmony or out of phase with something, it's called dissonance, right? So all you did was get in resonance with your surrounding environment. And so that's why you feel connected to things around you, because you're on a resonant frequency with whatever the vibration is around you. And to repeat the last part, I said, we do not see the world as individual things or activities, but as a complex, interwoven net of energies with characteristic vibrational rhythms. And that's just a lot of words to say that everything has its own unique vibratory rate.
You know, Instructor Keith, when you say that, it makes me think of a book called The Submarillion. In the beginning of that book, the world called Middle Earth was actually created with vibrations known as the first music ever. So, like, that just always kind of hit me really hard. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the world had come about through some kind of music or another, some kind of vibration, if you will. Whole entire universe, multiverse even.
It did, and we're going to talk about what that is at the end of this.
That's super stream theory.
Yeah. So you said the only difference between us and other things is the rate of frequency that we vibrate at. So do humans vibrate in a certain range of frequency?
Oh yeah, for sure. But the thing is that we are a complex array of vibrations as well. So our cells vibrate at a certain rate. You know, we have the brain waves that vibrate at a certain rate. We have our heartbeat that beats at a certain frequency. So, you know, it's several different vibratory rates that are found in the human body. And as you know, when we meditate, we get into resonance with one another, in heart resonance and brainwave resonance, right? And we talked about the types of interference that can happen. So you have constructive interference and destructive interference. So if we're out of phase, out of harmony, in dissonance, when my vibratory rate meets your vibratory rate, we'll have destructive interference. But if we get into resonance, brain, heart, you know, we vibe, then we have constructive interference, right? So we add to one another. We don't collapse the wave.
Makes sense.
I found it interesting that even with all of those with that particular visual that you just gave with us meditating together, let's say, you know, Jojo, it is the ether that those that our individual vibrations are carried on, and it almost does the math to bring homeostasis to those vibrations.
Exactly right.
I thought that was heavy, like in that visual. So I imagine like myself radiating something, you radiating something, everybody radiating vibratory frequencies and transmitting those signals, those frequencies, and doing the math on it to bring it to bring us in harmony.
Exactly right. That's a perfect example. That's exactly what happened. Anybody else got questions or comments?
I love being a nerd.
My
I
kind of
have a
guy.
question.
Huh?
So I have a question. So if
Mm-hmm.
you got a partner, then you guys got a little thing going, you say meditation, um, that would help bring you guys to the same frequency. If you got something going on that brings you out of the frequency, meditating on your own wouldn't be as efficient as, say, the two of you meditating together. That way, you're both simmering down back to your normal frequency. Would that be correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's what we talked about, with the constructive and destructive interference. So when you meditate together, you get on the same frequency or the same wavelength. Then when your peaks meet the other person's peaks, they add together. So just say if you're, for a simplified example, if you're vibrating at 1 hertz, which is 1 cycle per second, and the other person is vibrating at the same wavelength of 1 cycle per second, then constructive interference says that the peaks add together. So now together, you all are both on 2 hertz because you brought 1 hertz and she brought 1 hertz. So now y'all are in constructive interference or resonance. So now you add, but if you are in destructive interference, now you cancel it out. So the peak and the trough meet, which basically flatlines the wave if it's the same wavelength. So that's exactly right what you said. If you meditate together on the same frequency, then now the power that the individuals have separately are now compounded together and they add, which equals
Uh,
more power.
I got a question to that. Does that mean what do they keep growing, or does it just say the one plus the one and the 1 hertz person come together and make two? Would they eventually make four at some point, or does it just stop at two?
No, it's not necessarily a limit, which is why the more people that we can get on the same wavelength, the better, because now we add. So, um, and it's actually very deep because this is kind of where we're going. But, when you infuse a message via the airwaves, and I'm particularly thinking about COVID-19, we have a pandemic, a deadly virus. Like now you put everybody on the same fear-based wavelength and everybody is in resonance with fear and low vibrations. Now we all bringing each other's vibrations down because we're infused with that low vibratory rate of, fear and panic, which is very low on the vibrational scale. So, you know, we really can change the world, with just meditating together, like quite literally. So
Construct.
long story short is no limit. Go ahead.
I wanted to add one caveat to Chris' question though, especially as it relates to interpersonal relationships. You will both have to go to meditation with the intention of harmonizing though, because either one of you could sit down and maintain the attitude to keep the disharmony at play. So I don't believe it's a matter of we sit down and meditate without having the intention of, again, harmonizing or eliminating that off vibration that the two parties were dealing with beforehand. That's a fair
For
statement.
sure, yeah. Yeah, I
That's
definitely
cool.
agree. And part of this whole thing, we bring vibrations via, like we said, the heart and the mind. So thought is a vibration as well. So, like you said, that intention of being in resonance does play a part.
Back
Thank
to
you.
what you said about the one person bringing one hertz and another person bringing another hertz, and that raises both of you up to two. Would that connect to what Instructor Aku said about bringing in that intention? Would that hertz kind of be that intention? Like you have your intention, you meditate, and you begin to vibrate at the frequency of your intention. But if you have other people you're meditating with, and they're not bringing the same intention, they're not going to vibrate at those same hertz, and therefore you're not going to add on to one another's frequency. Does that make sense? Would that be correct?
Yeah, that makes sense, and you can actually look it up too. It was a author of a book, I can't remember his exact name, but he wrote a book called Power versus Force, and in that book he talked about the vibratory rates of different emotions. So that's where you can see that fear and panic and all of that is very low on the vibrational scale, and love, compassion, forgiveness and all of that is higher on the vibratory scale. So when you go in with that intention, it does affect the rate at which you vibrate, and it affects the rate at which resonance is met. So if you're coming in at a low vibrational fear, panic, I'm coming in on, love, compassion, we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. So that's why it's very incumbent on you as to how you enter a space and what vibration, what emotions you're feeling, and having all of that stuff in check. Because if you don't, remember everything vibrates and everything seeks equilibrium. So when you go into a space in a low vibrational state, now you literally bring the vibrations of that space down.
That's crazy. My mom, she used to coach a cheer team, and she used to tell the girls like, check your emotions and your tears out the door. She might have been hip to them, to the ether, them airwaves.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like a lot of this stuff we inherently know already. It's just that now we are teasing it out and putting language and vocabulary to it. But we know when somebody is off, or they don't, the energy is low. Like we know, and it's literally a vibration that can be measured. Like very literally, not figurative.
It's all
I'm
ties
glad
in
you touched on the
meditation.
topic of how if your vibrational field is at a certain level, how you can absorb, um, kind of level up with whoever is in front of you or who's in the room, who takes up that space. It happens, like I noticed it happening. It happens a lot at work. I'll go in feeling really good, and I'll meditate, and I'll sit in this conference room in our meeting, and we'll talk, and I could instantly feel drained from all the very simple, mundane things that we are every day complaining about, which I join in, and we all complain together. So recently, in fact, today I was, especially after last night's class, I think I've had a lot of time to really think about how I want to present myself and what do I really think of myself. So I I brought it up to my boss and all the supervisors because they're all going back and forth, and I just walked in for one thing. I wasn't even supposed to work on site. And they were so chaotic in that room that I almost like paused at the door. I'm like, do I really want to enter this, because I'm not ready. I don't feel confident in myself to be able to handle what's happening inside. So I was like, let me not comment, but be an observer. So I went in, and they were all talking, and my boss was like, oh, listen to this, and our everyday. And I was like, maybe we should all meditate. and everybody just started laughing. I don't think they knew what I was. I mean, I've been saying meditate because my everybody's anxiety is super high. I'm like, you guys want to meditate for 5 minutes? Like, let's put some like relaxing music. I have Spotify, and let's start before we start talking. Let's meditate, and I'm convinced that I'm gonna get them there. I've definitely gotten some of my friends there. Just to like 5 minutes. Like give me 1 minute, and then we'll try that, and then add a couple more minutes. So I wanted to share that because they all laughed at my face today, and they could not understand what I was trying to say, and they're like, Nishani, what? This is not the time to meditate. And I'm like, actually, I need to leave. I gotta go to my office, and I'm gonna do that. And then I locked myself out, but that's another story. But I wanted to share that.
You know, I appreciate that. And that's the thing about, um, you know, people, and, you know, they are stuck in a mode of this is how things are, and anybody who comes with a new idea normally is shot down. So I would offer that you should gather facts and evidence to say this is why we should meditate because blank. You know, it lowers stress levels, is better for blood pressure. It allows us to communicate better, which is both speaking and listening. Like, you know, whatever facts that you need to have to support the argument, I think it would be more um, well received, especially, you know, people in like corporate America and stuff, because they like numbers and graphs and charts and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's just about speaking their language. So saying that we need to meditate is not speaking their language. So you might have to call it something else. It might, you know, mindfulness is a big thing now in corporate America. So, you know, we know it's meditation, but, you know, it might have to be a different name. Just something to think about.
I'll call it quiet time.
Right. That'll work.
Might say a moment of silence.
Right. Anybody else questions or comments? All right. So, if not, so we talked about, you know, sound, vibration, and all of that. So from sound, we get communication. So communication is the activity and the function of the fifth chakra. Here we have language, a complex pattern of sound and rhythm through which we symbolize the world around us. So if you say a word, if you think a thought, whatever, it is a word, right? So if you think a thought, even if you think in pictures, if you see images, those images are still a pictorial representation of a word, right? So literally, our reality is constructed through language, right? So that's why we say that power is language sensitive, because it really does construct your reality. So if you say an activity is hard, then it is because you said it, right? And that goes for mostly everything in our reality. It is dictated via the language that we use to describe a thing. um, Communication is a rhythmic activity, and studies show that regardless of the content of the words used, listeners and speakers enter into a rhythm entrainment as they converse. Entrainment is the coordination or synchronization of different rhythms. So, what do you hear, or what concept in training does this remind you of?
Exchange.
Exchange,
Sounds
exactly.
With the echo.
it sounds like entertainment a little bit, like they split the words around the letters.
No, well, you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet because of the distance, but we have a training aid called exchange, and in exchange, you deliver a blow, and then you allow the opponent to deliver a blow, and it allows you to work on your speaking, aka your arsenal, your blows that you have, and it also allows you to listen, which is the maneuver, right? So speaking and listening is the combat version of what we are talking about here, right? So it's a rhythmic activity. It's a dance. It's not a you know all speaking or all listening, but it's both in one. Speaking and listening. It's a conversation. And so in the rules of combat, we actually have combat communication because whether you know it or not, you're always communicating something. And so the benefit of that in combat is that you now learn to listen to what the person is saying and be cognizant of what you're saying, as far as combat is concerned. So, for example, if your weight is 50-50 instead of 85-15 as how it should be, you're communicating to me that in order for you to kick, you got to shift. You either got to move to the left or to the right because the weight is 50-50, right? Whereas if you have the weight 85 on the back, 15 on the front, then you can kick with the front leg without shifting the weight. So that's a very small example of combat communication. So, I can be cognizant of what I'm communicating to you because I know that if I have my weight 50-50, I'm communicating that I have to shift to kick. And on the flip side, if you're standing 50-50, you're communicating to me that you have to shift in order to kick. So if I know that, I can take advantage.
So that's
You on
like
mute. You on mute.
with the roundhouse. If you don't pivot at the say like you pivot before you actually do the roundhouse kick, you're letting them know what's coming.
Exactly. Yep. So, we have a word for that. It's called telegraphing, but that's exactly what it is. If you pivot, so that's why we say the striking limb precedes all other movement, right? So if I'm doing a roundhouse, the striking limb is the first thing that moves because if I move anything else, I'm communicating to you what I'm about to do, right? So if I pivot the front foot first before I deliver or before I start delivering the roundhouse kick, that is communicating to the opponent that I'm about to do a kick. So the striking limb is always the first thing that moves. Anybody else questions or comments?
Instructor is the throat chakra. We're talking a lot about um, speech and vibration from the throat, but is it also correlated with um, living and like so? Like I always was told that it deals with speaking your truth, the throat chakra, honoring your throat chakra, speaking your truth. Is it also living your truth based on what you're talking about with expression and movement, with the example of combat on the floor?
I didn't get the connection to the last part. So the first part I heard, and the answer is yes. So how you speak is the throat chakra, but also how you um, you know, communicate via actions as well is also a part of all of this. So you see how the eightfold path ties directly into the chakras with right speech, right action, all of that. Because in your actions, minus words, is another way that you communicate to the world. So, you know, minus words, what are you communicating? Are you communicating I'm standoffish? Are you communicating you know, I'm open and, you know, expressive? Like, you know, you are always communicating just like in combat. You're always communicating something, but the goal or the task is to be cognizant and on purpose about what you're communicating.
Overstood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right. So we talked about communication involves both speaking and listening. Therefore, if one's fifth chakra is closed, then there is a fear of expressing oneself, a fear of speaking the truth, or excessive shyness. If the throat chakra is too open, then we are so busy expressing ourselves that we forget to listen. The person tends to yell or dominate others in conversation. I'm sure we all know people who fit both categories, and we might fit both categories too. So, you know, just something to look out for. A balanced throat chakra instills a clear voice with resonance, clarity, and rhythm. Decision-making abilities become better, and creativity improves due to self-expression. Speaking the truth and voicing one's thoughts and opinions unblocks this chakra. So this, you know, as we talked about, and you know, bridging right into the eightfold path, right action and right speech. Like how do you express yourselves, and through what means or medium do you express yourself? So you can see how now the throat chakra is a higher level of creative self-expression. So, you know, creativity is tied to the second sacral chakra, but it's more of a primal sexual expression. Whereas the throat chakra creativity and self-expression is now elevated because it's expressing you, it's who you really are. So remember we talked about how the throat chakra is the bridge from what's on the outside to come out. That doesn't always have to be words. That can be your self-expression. So you might be a dancer, right? And so when you dance, that is now your expression. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through words, but it's your creativity and self-expression. It's how you choose to express yourself in the world. And it doesn't always have to be in words. And most of the time it's not in words. The food that is associated with this chakra is fruits. The frequency is 741 hertz, and this chakra controls the function of the mouth, the teeth, the jaw, throat, neck, esophagus, and the thyroid gland. The mantra is Ham, Ham. The Vishuddha chakra is the gate through which we are able to raise our consciousness to a higher level. It is the border between the physical and astral levels, between consciousness and superconsciousness. And I have a quote, and this is the part I'm talking about right here, Instructor Nate. I have a quote from the Chandogya Upanishad, and that's Chandogya, Chandogya Upanishad. So the quote is this: "The essence of all beings is earth. The essence of earth is water. The essence of water is plants. The essence of plants is man. The essence of man is speech. The essence of speech is the Rig Veda, or holy knowledge. The essence of the Rig Veda is Samaveda, which is word, tone, or sound. And the essence of Samaveda is Om, which is the primordial syllable. So the sound that created the universe is Om, O-M. So when they say in the beginning there was the word and the word was made manifest, that's what the word was, Om, O-M.
Can you run that quote back one more time?
I got
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I got up to the essence of plant is man.
you. All right. The essence of all beings is earth. The essence of earth is water. The essence of water is plant. The essence of plants is man. The essence of man is speech. The essence of speech is the Rig Veda, or holy knowledge. The essence of the Rig Veda is Samaveda, which is the word, tone, or sound. And the essence of Samaveda is Om, O-M, which is the primordial syllable. And all you gotta do is, if you look up the Chandogya Upanishad, it's the first one.
Thank you.
Yep. And Om, O-M, if you say it, it sounds like A-U-M. So the A represents the origin of all sound, connecting us to our individual selves or ego. And coincidentally, it's also the first letter in our alphabet. So you can see how it's the beginning. The U represents the energy of mind and the universe. And just look at, if you break that word down, universe. Uni means one, verse is word. Universe, one word, which is Om. And the M invokes the sensation of oneness between the corporeal body and the universe. So A-U-M, or O-M, which is Om. All right, that's all I had. Questions, comments?
Did you say the animal that is related to?
Nope, I got it though. It's the so the animal that it's related to is the exalted white elephant, which is called Airavata, Airavata, and he carries the god Indra, which is the god of thunder and rain, and is symbolic of strength, prosperity, and good luck. So you can see this elephant is showing up again. Remember, the first elephant was at Muladhara, and he represented groundedness. But now this elephant is carrying a god, the god of rain and thunder. and it's a white elephant this time. So, we talked about the color white representing purity, which is this chakra purification.
Peace instructor.
Peace.
Yeah, I did want to ask. I don't know if I just didn't hear it when you was going through it, but I know you were saying talking about the things that you do to open this and keep this chakra open, such as expressing yourself. What are things that close it, that block it, that kind of block that pathway?
Just lacking self-expression. So, like, for example, not saying what things that should be said or that need to be said, or um, like, for example, if you want to say something to somebody but you don't say it, like, and you get that knot in your throat, like, that's representative of a closed down throat chakra. Like, you can't express yourself freely, or you choose not to express yourself freely for whatever the reason. So just lack of free expression, self-expression, lack of creative self-expression.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, I got 11% on my computer, so we about to just go through this list real fast. And we also broke our record tonight. We had 27 people on here, so appreciate you all for coming through, joining us, and we'll start from the top this time. So, Kim, you got anything?
Not really. Today was a good class per usual. I'm glad I was able to, get on it and hear. It's just it is so fascinating that everything is connected, like how the chakras are connected still to the eightfold path. Like this is connected to right speech and right action and right thought. So um everything is connected, and it's like you can't deny what we're being taught. So like I always say every week, I appreciate the lessons that we get because nobody else is getting it, or like you said, you would get it from a bald head Chinese or something like that. So I just appreciate the lessons that we're receiving to help us elevate each other, not just grow but elevate. So you know I definitely appreciate these classes, and I appreciate the instructors for feeding us, literally feeding us. Like, so, yes, awesome class per usual. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We definitely appreciate you, and just preparing you for what's to come. Amina, you got anything? Yeah.
Uh, you can hear me?
There you go.
Um, what I was gonna say is a lot of times when it comes to this chakra, it just made me think back to how when we were, you know, and families say like, oh, stay in the child plays, or there's grown folks conversations, and just the different things that could lend to inadvertently blocking the throat chakra, and halting, stifling expression. Um, so these things are cool, and it's very helpful as using a little one, now a little human, making sure that we are intentional, promoting her self-expression and not stifling that and setting an example for that. So that's what was just present to me. and rearing the baby to really the power of self-expression and a balanced throat chakra. So I appreciate this lesson. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here as always. CJ.
I definitely appreciate tonight's lesson. I learned a lot about how the throat chakra isn't just vocal, and about it being a really powerful source and part of creation. It really drove home to me how everything really is connected. Because when it comes to things like manifesting, when it comes to things like creation and the things that we want or the things that we desire, or completing our dharma and things of that nature, I think a lot of times like action isn't put into it. Sometimes there's this, I'm going to wait on it, I'm just going to meditate on it and I'm going to wait on it, but not exercising that throat chakra and speaking it into existence, and speaking it into existence with our actions as well. So it was a lot for me. It was like it brought everything home, especially when it comes to creation and the power of having a balanced throat chakra, and the power of living in our truths, both in action, in thought, and verbally. So I definitely appreciate the lesson.
Thank you. We appreciate you joining, and appreciate your feedback as always. Emerson.
Yep. This lesson brought up the fact and the appreciation of self mastery. I watched the documentary that Instructor Said told us about last week about resonance and waves, and I just thought about how back in ancient times they were able to make astrology before there were telescopes made, and how they could hear. You told us how they could hear the Earth's rotation with the sound of Om. So like nowadays it's so much distracting us and causing dissonance from the Earth's natural resonance that is the most important time ever. This is the most important time for self mastery. Kind of get connected with nature. The more that you can hear the Earth's resonance, and you say the mantras, the Om mantras, the more that you can hear the natural resonance. So that's the importance of self mastery, because you get connected with everything else around you that's naturally made.
So yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Aaron.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.
This was very interesting, and it's just a good thing to vibe with like-minded individuals about the topics of chakra, because when I speak about this stuff to clients, it's like, what's wrong with you? What are you talking about? And this chakra here just reminds me of, speaking and receiving, speaking stuff out into existence in the universe, speaking it out and receiving it, speaking what you want and receiving it, and getting that vibration that you want. So, yeah, I like this chakra a lot, and I can see where I can be unbalanced in this chakra. As far as I talk too much sometimes, and sometimes I don't listen, and I can go and go and go. So didn't realize it was unbalanced, but that's something that, to look out for. So thank you for the lesson.
Oh yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's all this is about, is just knowing thyself. So the more we, know, the more we can work on it and improve it, and become our best self, as they say.
May I say something real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
The closer you get to knowing yourself, the closer you get to knowing the God that created you.
Amen to that.
Right. All right, Minister Freedom.
Man, peace, man. I definitely enjoyed this class, just like always. I think it was some really. It was a lot of high science, man. A lot of simple stuff, but I like how it was able to all come home. From the start of the just from the start of the dialogue, I just know all I kept thinking about was how it was like you said when you went to creativity, and how manifesting this chakra and the expression of this chakra is an example of, and one of the power points of it is the manifestation of creativity. What all that made me think of is how the throat and the mouth and this part of the body is literally the part of the physical expression of oneself, how we speak and communicate, like you said, going in the language, communicating our thoughts, um, which is really the reflection of somebody. I was always told that if you wanna know what's on a man's mind, listen to what come out his mouth. Listen to the things that he say. And then after you listen to the things that he say, see the fruit that he bears. So it just was about, like sis was saying, you the things that you speak will exist. So I was always taught to watch what you say, not to speak things, or not to talk on things, or do things, or even think things that you don't want, because you're just attracting them to you. So
Yep. And now you can see physically that you're creating resonance or dissonance with the
Yeah, some
tongue,
more. I got them right here.
with the vibrations that you produce.
but yeah, all I was saying was just, even in myself, sometimes I get that ball in my throat when I be wanting to express myself to somebody and I don't express myself, or it's something that need to be said and I don't say it. It's just a moment where I'm wanting to say something, wanting to express something, and it don't get expressed. But however, when I do express it, when I let it go, if I'm speaking somewhere and I really express what I want to feel at the end of that expression, it feels good. You in a good mood, it feel good, you feel you in the right place. So that really resonated with me.
Excellent. Definitely glad to hear that. Hero.
Peace.
Hey, peace.
Yeah, class was really great this evening. I wanted to just offer. I don't know if did you mention the astrological correspondence for the planet?
I didn't. Go ahead.
Is Jupiter is the planet, and I also wanted to share the correspondence to the goddess Kali with the tongue. There's these goddesses that were known for being able to destroy the world with their tongue, with a word, with the logos. And I just wanted to share that was a really big deal. And it's related to how help we create our reality with our words. It's just another reinforcement of, like, you can speak peace or you can speak destruction, you can speak creation, and how powerful that is. It's a really big deal. And you know, thanks for sharing, this information in the class tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say one correction. This chakra is associated with Mercury, which is the planet of communication. So you know how we have Mercury retrograde. When it retrograde, it affects negatively communication. So you might get into arguments, or cell phones may not work, or you may just not want to make any contracts because Mercury governs communication, which is the throat chakra.
Okay, well, that's my bad. I have in my this book right here about the subtle body. They mentioned
Hmm.
that Jupiter was the ruling planet, but it may be something. I mean, it may they do slightly different systems from book to book.
For
So
sure, yeah. Yep, yep.
okay.
Yeah, just I mean, you could definitely look into it, but just from
Yeah, no.
yeah.
I've heard that as well with that Mercury. It actually is the planet of communication for sure, and all the different systems.
Hmm.
So that definitely makes sense.
And
Yep, yeah.
also
Plus,
it's Gemini.
that's what
The
I was
throat
about to say. I'm
chakra
a
is a
Gemini
Gemini.
too, so
Yeah, so that we kind of know that one, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Gemini.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Javion.
Peace, family. Peace, instructor.
Peace.
Um, I don't have much to add today. Just want to say thank you. Complex lesson today. You get deeper and deeper in your bag, so I'm just working on making sure I take quality notes. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you being here as always. Kemet.
Can you
Yep.
thumbs up? You can hear me? Okay. Um, I appreciated the visual of the meditation when we were talking about the hertz, when we were talking about how you can add the vibration, within different groups of folks. I never really associated the throat chakra in a etheric way like that. Um, I did want to note that I remember in the beginning you were talking about how it's associated with the full moon, and today is a full moon in Cancer. So I thought that was interesting that it just aligned on this day. Um, yeah, it just kind of got me thinking about like the different vibrations when you meet whomever or when you're in an exchange or talking to folks. And sometimes you may talk to somebody and okay, you get kind of tired or you feel kind of drained. So, and using the throat or the power of speech, today's call kind of got me more in the sensitivities of, where someone's conversation is. Why do I choose to speak when I, choose to speak, or how well I'm listening to when I feel like I want to say something. And if I get distracted by that feeling, um, I know I would always deal with this chakra in ways where, I have asthma issues and I feel like I just always be not saying what I knew was on my mind to say, keeping it all pent up, keeping it all in. I took the initiative to start like singing to myself at times, just do different things to help release and open that space up more, and just feel assertive about what I know I gotta say when I know I gotta say it. And sometimes it be a timing thing, being patient for when is the best moment or opportunity to speak. But definitely it's a thin balance between needing to express what you gotta express. Um, yeah, I ain't got too much to say. It was nice seeing the visual of the elephant. You said this chakra deals with the elephant, the white elephant, and the rain and the thunder gods. That was a cool visual. So I just appreciate the content given today and how it added to um, what I see and what I feel about throat chakra. So thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for holding the space. And see you soon.
Sweet. Thank you. Definitely appreciate you. Appreciate you sharing as always. Lovely.
Peace. So when you said this one is me. This is a chakra that I need to work on for self, and I say that because my dancing is freedom. I have no restrictions. I'm absolutely comfortable. That is my zone. That is my zen, and I'm going to have that same effect when I show up on the floor at the dojo. They have to be one and the same. That makes any sense. And I noticed that about myself. Like even when I say I'm not a impromptu speaker, but if I'm setting up in an interview, it's beautiful. It's easy. And that needs to be something that goes from one to the next. It needs to transcend into and through everything that I do. So, I'm gonna stop that cuss word saying I'm not an impromptu speaker because I am. And it's great to just be able to say it and be vulnerable and naked in a sense in front of people, in front of my family. I know y'all see it sometimes, but when somebody says it, it just makes it 10 times greater. Just the acknowledgement of working in perfection. So thank you.
Yep, and you just put us all on resonance with the vibration of you being an impromptu speaker. So, you just made that possibility that much more powerful. So, yeah, I'm fully enrolled in the possibility that you just created. So, we'll be on the lookout for more impromptu speeches from you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Nishani.
As always, thank you very much for today's lesson. I did last week actually. Kemet helped check my chakras because I wasn't sure what she had talked about and how to do it. So there was a larger rotation in my root chakra, or a higher vibe. I'm not entirely sure how to express that, so I'm sorry if I'm not saying the right words with that. And it got me thinking, especially after today's lesson, like growing up as a girl, like you're not supposed to speak your mind. You don't really get a lot of say in a lot of things. Like, at least in my culture, in the conservative culture that I was brought up in, like action and words wasn't really something a girl was kind of expected to. It was more like silence, and I think most children did experience that, but I never saw my brother, at least in my personal experience. I never saw that happening with my brother. It was always me, like to not speak, and I would have a lot to say most of the time, but I was always told not to. So I definitely learned to be very quiet for most of my life, and then I'm now like over expressing for sure, definitely over expressing. So I'm definitely overbalanced, and my favorite color is blue. So I own a lot of blue. Like, look, my water bottle and my phone cover. This table is blue. Like everything I own is blue. So I may be overly heavily focused on the color blue, and I really dislike how blue is associated with depression, and how people express in my world, how they're like, I'm feeling blue today. There's a whole book that I have in my office that it's blue pictures, and I really dislike how this positive color, this color of peace and this relaxation is interpreted in our world, in my world in therapy, as something that's bad and something that's down, and you're feeling blue. So I always try to change the verbiage. I don't even use the book. I have it because I have to have it in my office. But it's so interesting how the dynamic of that color is so different with some, and then it's expressed in a different way with others. the true expression, like speaking your truth, it got me thinking because I've been practicing in this new therapy technique, and a lot of the times people say that it's stuck here. It's EMDR. I don't know if anybody's familiar. It's eye movements, and it's very tedious. It's not like talk therapy, and everybody keeps saying that it's stuck here, and they get stuck there, and like it's so difficult for them to express what it is that they're trying to say. And so we keep bringing attention to the body because that's what, that's the only thing they can focus on. They can feel that it's stuck there. And I'm kind of thinking about it now that it happened to me today with a client. So I'm like thinking about how can I kind of help that person find a way to unlock it. And I might not be able to do it myself. She might have to go through that herself and find a way to speak her truth. And a lot of the times I don't personally believe that speaking your truth necessarily means that you should say it to the person itself. A lot of the times I feel like speaking your truth is just being able to say the words out loud, even though that person may not be receiving it, may not be there to hear it, may not be alive to hear it. There's another therapy gestalt where he talked about the empty chair technique, where you pretend like you're talking to the person and you're speaking everything that you want to tell and you didn't get a chance to tell, like closure and grief and loss, expressing all those things, but not being able to really tell the person because it's not about the other person, it's just about you being able to actually verbalize it, like verbalizing fear. I think yesterday was a big realization for me to just be able to say and just to be comfortable with saying, yeah, that's actually fear. I was afraid and I wasn't speaking in kumite yesterday. I was definitely just blocking and trying to get away. I wasn't speaking. So I thought about that a lot while in this lesson. So it's kind of perfect that today would happen to be about the root chakra. So thank you again. I'm sorry last time I completely cut out. I really appreciate everybody in this class, in the physical space and in the virtual space. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you kind of mentioned, but my mom actually had a great exercise, and it's very similar to that. But instead of an empty chair, you actually speak to a person. So, like for example, if you have an issue with your mom, like I would be your mom, and you would talk to me and say everything that you want to say, and that it does help, unlock that throat chakra. And another thing that helps, as far as like exercises is charades. I'm not sure if you ever played that game before, but it's where you act out the words, and that also helps to, free you up in that way. So that may be something that you might want to, explore or implement. Thank you. Paul,
Peace, y'all.
peace.
I think it's a lot to chew on. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit this once you put the recording up. But
And for some reason, it'd always be low every time.
can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I have to revisit this. It was a lot to digest, in a good way. Definitely resonating with my blockages not coming obviously from my ability to speak my truth, but pontificating and living or acting on it is something entirely different. And I am working. I'm working diligently to harmonize my living with my words, my truth, living my truth. It, the part about the ether spoke to me in a different way. We've been working in that space in the dojo for a little while now, under your direction, Instructor Vine, Instructor Cedric. However, the it just made me think on a metaphysical level about the influence I have in my thought, in Kumite, in a multiple, in a knife attack or whatever it is that we're working on, but also in the virtual dojo, and how I'm actually seeing things that I'm speaking manifest themselves. My goal is to, I guess, level up dimensionally with that, so that it's more immediate, so that we're operating in space time and fourth dimensional reality, but making it more immediate, making it more fifth dimensional. So I think that just comes more with being in congruence with living my truth, juxtaposed to being able to articulate it in word, but actually speaking it and not worrying about how it lands. I often worry about how I worry to manage how it's going to land for other people, and it ain't really none of my business. When I'm speaking when I'm living my truth, is not my concern how that lands with other people. If I'm especially operating on the eightfold path, which to this particular chakra is bringing it all together for me. The last couple of months of lectures, and now you're dealing with the chakras. This throat chakra is bringing it all together. I notice even in my speaking, how my voice will waver. The tonality of it, and it's something that I've been wrestling with for a year or two now, not really understanding why my voice, the actual sonic voice, it fluctuates. So I think that this has something to do with it as far as an imbalance. I feel like the solution is in living truth more than just pontificating it, philosophizing, all of that, but actually living it. So this is something that this lecture will be one that I need to revisit a few times and really work in this. So thank you for these jewels. Thank all of y'all for y'all input. Y'all open up my mind to a lot of things that I wasn't privy to for tonight. So thank you all.
Thank you. And, we all are works in progress, working towards that active godship. So this is just one of the steps on the ladder of ascension. So it's all just work. So thank you. I appreciate you. Rada.
Peace, family.
Peace.
Class was dope as always. Some really important medicine to become present to, and I'm really grateful for it. Definitely have been working on harmonizing my throat chakra. I've been a public speaker for most of my young adult life, so it's been a very odd place to be for me. But this really brought a lot of life to this moment for me. So thank you.
And thank you for dropping that. So we are going to look for some impromptu speeches from you as well. And thank you, though. We appreciate you being here. Rafa?
Not much. Dope class, complex to digest in one sitting. So I'm definitely going to have to revisit this video. I had a similar upbringing like Nashani spoke of, because I was the youngest out of my siblings and out of my family, like cousins, etc. I was always the youngest, so I was always told to shut up most of the time. I would tattletale a little bit too much, or speak the truth when it wasn't wanted in the environment. So I've had challenges with speech or challenges with expressing myself verbally. This will be a challenge that I'm looking forward to taking on moving into the future because I see the benefit in everything that I do in life when I'm able to express myself verbally, creatively. Everything is just more lit. We see it in the physical space. That ki, we was ki like hell yesterday, and it was lit. So definitely see the power in the tongue and in the throat, and I am going to work on that for sure. That's it.
Sweet. Thank you for being here, and peace to your daughter as well. Glad she was here with us.
Yeah,
Salama?
she always cut still, so we got to work on that. But
Salama?
Peace and love, family.
Peace.
Just want to say thank you so much for doing so much work every single week and getting all this material processed and then giving it to us. Much appreciated. I just noticed this whole lecture er, was really interesting for me because earlier this week or last week I dropped out of communication, and I was just thinking about how we were talking about like the frequency of communication and what you don't communicate but what is still there. And I was just thinking how my lack of communication was scary for people in so many levels because I am a communicator. I'm for the most part, that's what people know me as. And so dropping out, I realized that how much it really impacts, people who are used to my communication being one way. So this really gives me something to sit with, and also about communicating things that I am dealing with, because by not communicating them, that's a frequency that's not being expressed. And so it's something that I'm just dealing with by myself. And it's hard to process, something that you're just constantly dealing with by yourself instead of with people who are around that can do that with you. So I am putting myself to the task now to be more sharing with communicating, like things that I'm going through and what I'm feeling. It's easy for me to allow people to communicate themselves to me. That's really easy for me. And a friend said to me, Aaron said to me, I wish that you could trust me like I trust you. And I was like, she sent me a message and I felt bad because I thought I do trust her. It's just, it's with myself. So anyways, that's all. This just really touched home for me as far as my last 2 weeks of my communication.
I'm glad that you were here and, able to hear this live without having to go back and watch the recording. But, it was a lesson for all of us this week to see, the importance of communicating and the impact that not communicating has. And, that's really, really, really big. And we talked last week about the heart chakra and how it deals with relationship. And relationship is founded on communication, which is speaking and listening. So when that communication is absent, how strong is the relationship? And that's what this whole chakra is about communication. So relationships are literally founded on or broken down by communication or lack thereof. So glad that you see that, and hopefully this brought that home, that whole communication piece. So thank you.
It absolutely did. Thank you.
Teresa.
Very interesting. lot of new things popping in my mind. I think about lately. Since I've been on this journey, I've been working at holding back my speech as far as I began to feel like I may talk too much, thinking that I know everything, or other people thinking that when I talk I'm forcing my views on them, or just being a person that seemed like I know everything. So in order to I just started cutting back on giving my opinion or input everywhere. It's not required. So I'm thinking about, it just brings me to the throat chakra, and how, that's kind of, I guess I'm kind of working on finding my balance as far as when I need to use that speech, or to alleviate fear, or any of those things. It's just a learning experience, and that I'm still going through and learning, and I appreciate this information coming to me at this time. And I just wonder how powerful we would be if we were taught this from the time, like, how we taught our kids ABCs before they actually started going to kindergarten, before we sent them out there. What if we taught them all of this stuff that we're learning now, that really pertains to them? What if we were taught the periodic table in relation to ourselves, at our bodies, and the foods that we put in our bodies, versus like it's something totally separate from us. It has nothing to do with, our cells and grounding and all of that good stuff. So this is awesome for me. I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a excellent point. So it's now our job to make sure the next generation doesn't have to grow up without this information. So we definitely are off to a good start. So it's just about keeping it up. Thank you. We appreciate you. Instructor Aku.
To be as succinct as possible, thank you, instructor, for continuing to unfold this information. Echoing what Brother Minister Freedom said, it's really exciting, and I'm full of gratitude to be able to bring the high sciences into practical application. And to, on Teresa's point, this information that has been hidden from us, that when we got glimpses of it, seemed so complicated and seemed so foreign and far away from us. It's just really a blessing to be operating in it actively, not just philosophically, but to be operating in it and then have the benefit of the collective. So just excited, man, and grateful. And I appreciate you, brother, for continuing to do the heavy lifting and digesting the information and then packaging it up in a way that makes it easy for us to understand. Even when you've been exposed to it, you just continue to unfold it in such a way that it's readily applicable. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Love you. And that's it.
Appreciate and love you as well. Thank you for being here. Instructor Nate.
So after this class, I've come to realize that my throat chakra is definitely out of balance too. Like I've always had a hard time with speaking and making what words that are in my mind or coming out of my heart like actually translate into the verbal realm so people can understand them. So I see now that I can work on that, but that's also a good thing, and it's quite enlightening to actually see that and be able to pursue it now. So like Instructor Aku was saying, we can actually walk in this now. So, I really appreciate these classes too, because we grow just as much as everybody else on these calls. And with that being said, honestly, I looked up the stone for this particular chakra, and it is turquoise. And what they have to say about some of the metaphysical properties of turquoise were rather fascinating, considering this particular chakra. Some of it is it balances and aligns the chakras, stabilizes mood swings, and instilling inner calm. It is an excellent for desperation and exhaustion, or being exhausted, if you will. It has the power to prevent panic attack, and it also is known as a healing stone. And one of its healing properties is it really helps with promoting self-realization and assists with the creative problem-solving process, which is what I thought was fascinating, because this chakra goes into that higher creative process, and I always wondered where that was within our system. So this has been rather enlightening, and honestly, I've realized that a lot of my chakras have been shut off from each other, so I've been working on interlocking them all back together. So thank you, Instructor Keith, and thank all of you students for showing up here. You all are definitely family, and I love you all.
Thank you. I was gonna say you got your throat chakra shirt on too. Instructor Ghost, and then Instructor Say, you can close this out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. What comes to mind is the awareness of imbalance. We touched on right speech quite a bit during the call. And in psychology, there's a study that says that 90% of all communication is complaining or gossip. 90% of all communication is complaining or gossip. So when we reflect on that and self-examine ourselves, can we conclude that, we are of those that represent that study, or are we of those who communicate our truth to the world? So depending on where we may exist in that, how does that ultimately affect the frequency of our throat chakra and that energy center in terms of balance? So the question is, what are we doing, or how do we monitor or police that imbalance? Are we aware of imbalance in terms of fear of speaking, uncontrollable speech, not keeping our word, and things of that nature? So when it's all said and done, it's about seeding that awareness, those awareness triggers with regard to balance. That's all I have.
We should have let you go last.
Brother, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, I don't have anything to say. What I will say is, thinking about a couple of the comments that people had regarding class yesterday, with respect to the throat chakra. I thought about the Kia and just that verbalization or that energy, and how the throat chakra is a step is the path to the step down of the energy through all the chakras, all the lower chakras, I should say. And in that space on the floor, in that kia or in that verbalization, what type of energy are you bringing to the space? And not just in that space, anywhere you go. What are you communicating in the spaces you go, and what type of energy and frequency are you adding or detracting from the spaces? Just a mindfulness in that. And actually, I just realized that's just right speech. I just realized that, and that's all it is. But being mindful how you carry yourself, and what are you bringing to each interaction, and are you bettering the space just by your presence? Because as a collective in this group we have, in the 36th chamber and Tumfa 2, that should always be our goal, to add on to whatever we do, to add on to any space that we're in, to increase the vibration. And I've said it about 5 times now, but by doing that, you are increasing the vibration of the universe. We are making the universe a better place. Oh yeah, brother, great call as usual.
Thank you. I was gonna say you picked the mic up and dropped it again, so that was good.
He did. Instructor Cedric,
Yes.
you hit on a really heavy point with that Kia and the number of students that are so resistant to and so challenged with allowing that expression to be had. So those of you that are suffering with that challenge, reflect on this today's lesson and how it interplays with the throat chakra and how important it is, because you're killing yourself by being afraid of coming to know it. You are hurting yourself. You are not protecting yourself. You're cutting yourself off from power. Like, there's so many detriments from that fear or whatever you're going through, and the inability to express yourself through that use of that throat chakra, even though that's not where it lies. It must come through the throat. And whatever is holding you back, you really need to examine that and get that out your way.
Sure. And to your point, brother, I'd like to add on a little more. It is touching all of them. You are digging all the way down the root to that primal, that carnal energy, and pulling it all the way back up and letting it out. That connection through all the chakras, and you are pulling all that energy, and directing it. I mean, I think that's a part of the communication of it. You are directing that energy where you want it to go. So, yeah.
And converting it into God essence.
Absolutely.
Like, you convert it. You brought that up in me, instructor. You taking it from the root, primal, life and death, and you converting it into the God essence. So y'all really, really need to give yourself over to it, because it's a really, really, really big deal. Thank you, instructor, for pulling that up.
Yep. All right. Well, if nobody has any more questions or comments, we can call it a night.
The only other thing I'd like to say is, in order to open yourself up to all that and to realize your imbalances, is that you have to go back to that experiencing. We are that vast universe within. Everything we're talking about is an application that happens within our own person, our own universe, if you will. So the more you pay attention to yourself and reflect on what you do, the more you will get to know yourself and get closer to that God that created you. So always remember that experience and take everything to heart, because it's all about that inner person, that true you, that true self. I mean, it's not about this, crude matter right here. That doesn't really exist. I mean, and truth is all about that spirit. I mean, like Instructor Keith says, this is like, when you do the math, there's only 10% of me actually here. I mean, this could be a hologram. So always remember experience. Go back to that experience. It's all about you, that true you, yourself. Don't let anybody else ever convince you otherwise.
Exactly.
Thanks for that.
Thanks. All right. Anybody else? Anything?
I love you guys.
We love you.
We
Thank
love
you.
you too.
Love you all too, family.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. Love you all. See you all on the floor tomorrow. And have a
Peace.
good night. Appreciate you all being here.
Good night.
Peace.
Appreciate you all.
Peace.
Instructions. Thanks.
Safety, peace, love, and light to you all.
Peace.
Peace, good build.